You ready? It's time for the No Pleasure Pod with BDP1. Buckle up, buttercups. Let's go.
You hear my music, so you know what time it is. It's been less than 24 hours since the slap heard round the world, and I'd be remiss if I didn't offer my 2 cents. I'm BDP1. Let's get it. Everybody and their neighbor has chimed in, so allow me to offer a perspective that I'm sure most of you haven't heard. I'm sure none of you have heard this. So last night at the Oscars, Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith are there, and for one of the categories, which was Best Documentary, which was subsequently won by Questlove of The Roots for his documentary Summer of Soul, Chris Rock was the presenter. And, you know, he had his monologue, and everybody knows that whenever there's a comedian that's, you know, being a presenter or providing monologue, that everybody's fair game. We've watched the Grammys, BET Awards. We watched all of these, you know, different award shows, functions, and events, and we know how it goes. We know, you know, how they get down. And rule number one, when there's a comedian in the room, you could be a part of the joke. Everybody knows that. Nobody knows that more than Will Smith. So now I'm going to offer you a little timeline to that situation that we saw last night. So, you know, everybody's seen the video now. I'll just run through it real quick. Chris Rock is offering his monologue as he's about to go ahead and open up with the nominees. He makes a little, you know, a couple of little jokes, and as he's finishing up, he says, G.I. Jane 2, you know, coming up, you know, Jada, can't wait to see you, or something of that nature. You know, he lets it be known that he loves Will and Jada, blah, 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 blah. Everybody's laughing, including Will Smith. Jada rolls her eyes and gives this look. At this point, the camera cuts away back to Chris Rock. So Chris is, you know, hey, you know, it was real light, you know, like that wasn't bad. So he's got his hands up and he's about to, you know, go ahead with the nominees. And then Will Smith gets up out of his chair and approaches the stage. So at this point, everybody starts laughing a little bit more, and you hear the oohs and the ahs. Nobody really knows what's going on. You know, this is the Oscars, actors act. So Will Smith is walking up the catwalk right toward Chris Rock. Chris Rock says, "Oh, hold up, Richard, hold up." You know, of course, Will Smith played Richard Williams, the father of tennis stars, phenomenons, the Williams sisters, Venus and Serena. And of course, the movie was up for several nominations last night. One, which was Best Actor, which is what Will Smith ended up walking away with last night. But, you know, that's for another podcast. Will Smith closes in on Chris Rock's face pretty quickly, and Chris is still smiling. Will didn't even posture. Like, his movements were so quick, Chris didn't really have time to respond or react physically, you know, like even to really defend himself. So Will Smith slapped Chris Rock, turned around and walked away. And Chris was, you know, sort of sat there, left trying to gather himself, trying to figure out exactly what to say. Will Smith goes back to his seat, you know, "Keep my wife's name out your effing mouth." And he yells this, no microphone. Everybody can hear it. And now at this point, people are like gasping, you know, and then you can see the camera is on Will Smith, one of the cameras. And then you can see people like Lupita and, you know, stuff like that are actually looking, and they're trying to, you know, figure out what's going on as well. And then Chris Rock says something like, "Okay." And then or no, he said something like, are you serious? And then Will Smith says, yes, keep my wife's name out your effing mouth. And then Chris Rock says, okay, I will. And then he gathers himself and then goes ahead with the presentation. By this time, everybody's, just all out of whack. Nobody knows what's going on. And different versions of it are coming out because although it was blacked out in the US, it was coming in on social media unedited. So people were able to see it. And I mean, it wasn't until today that I got to see a slow motion earlier this afternoon. And then someone sent me one again tonight. And it was just like, even in slow motion, it was so fast. But here's a timeline I want to offer you guys so that we can see how this thing, in my opinion, how this thing transpired, how we got to where we got to. Okay. So back in 2015, 2016, Jada met August Alsina. And we all are familiar with August Alsina. He's the entanglement. He's the entanglement guy. Okay. What some of you don't know is how August and Jada met. August and Jada met at a festival in London for her children, Jaden and that's how much that means to me. So they were in London and they were at the same show for Jaden, and I don't know why I can't remember Jaden's sister's name, but the other Smith child, who's not named Trey. So they introduce her, and they all are on this tour together. So she, hit a few dates with them or whatever. Dates meaning tour dates. And apparently her and August became very well acquainted. I'm not sure when it became physical, but it was definitely in the late 2015, early 2016 time. That's something that anybody who's been keeping up already knows that part of the story. Maybe not exactly the timeline, but they know, this was one of Jaden's really good friends, and he was going through some issues with alcohol abuse and drug abuse. I think he was on Percocets or something like that, and depression and stuff like that. So everyone looked at it as, we're helping him along on this journey, and we're all here for him. He needed some help, and we're here for him. Well, Jada took that to a different level, helping him. Around the same time, and this is a part that a lot of people probably don't know or have forgotten, Will had made a comment on his ex-wife's social media page. On that social media page, and I'm not sure if it was Twitter or Instagram. I think it was Instagram. But he said on that page, it was her birthday, and he said that he loved her and that she is the, quote, best baby mama ever. That's what he said on his ex-wife's social media page for the world to see. This wasn't a DM. This was out there for everybody to see. Well, guess who saw it? Chris Rock saw it. And then he posted, man, you have a really understanding wife. And I think that, most people seeing that would agree. Like, okay, you're married to Jada, and here you are on your ex-wife's page talking about how you love her and how you respect her and, this, that, and the other. Remember, Will and Jada were already married, and they already had teenage kids at the time that this was said. Now, let's just keep it a buck, okay? Knowing women the way we all do, no diss, do we not think that Jada was embarrassed by this? knowing women the way that we do, knowing women the way that you women know each other, was she getting to be petty? Was this the ammunition that she needed to move forward with what was probably bubbling underneath? She had somebody who wanted to spend time with her, who needed her, and she needed her husband's attention, or wanted her husband's attention. And she felt abandoned. Now we're starting to see Jada in public at events with August. And I mean, I remember even, like the pictures from the BET Awards, one of the BET Awards shows, where if you didn't know any better, you would have thought that they were married. Now, supposedly around that time, Jada and Will were separated, or they weren't together, and she was, in the process of divorcing him or about to divorce him or something of that nature. I don't think that we've gotten full clarification on that. But yeah, we started seeing them around a lot. Now let's go to another section. This is still in the timeline, still in 2016. So we remember the Oscars that year when Chris Rock made a joke about Jada boycotting the Oscars because Will wasn't nominated. I think the movie was Concussion at the time. And Chris Rock pointed out that Jada boycotting the Oscars was like him boycotting Rihanna's panties, he said. Doesn't matter because she wasn't invited. As the joke went, it doesn't matter if I boycott Rihanna's panties. I was never invited to them. And if you remember, the joke didn't stop there. Jada was saying how mad, she was that Will wasn't nominated. Again, I think the movie was Concussion. And Chris said that we were mad that Will Smith got paid $20 million for Wild Wild West. Apparently, Will took offense to that. Now in 2021, Jada and Will decide, I believe it was actually 2020, Jada and Will decide that they're going to discuss this relationship that everybody was buzzing about, and August had actually come out on Hot 97, Power 105. Whatever show it was that has Angela Yee on it, doing the gossip, segment or whatever. And he came out on the show and talked about his relationship with Jada. Offered some detail. Some of us actually, remember our boy Curtis Jackson, aka 50. Shout out to 50. Doing his own investigative reporting in the way that only 50 can. And, after Jada and Will had their red table talk, and Will is on there crying, and everybody can see how visibly wrecked he was. 50 hit him on the side and was like, yo man, you all right over there? And Will responded, yeah man, thanks for your concern, bro. And Fifth was like, yeah, well, why did she, put all your business like that out in front of everybody? He was like, well, Will was like, well, I mean, we weren't together. She did her, I did me. And Fifth came back and was like, well, so, basically she told Jew that she decides who can blow her back out. And Will said, F you, 50. And then 50 said, wait, what did I do? And of course, he had no problem with posting those messages, those text messages online for everybody to see. If you don't know, don't mess with 50. He's not the one. So in 2020, they're having this red table talk, and August had already pulled the curtain back on everything, so they had to pretty much go out and let people know this is what happened, this is what's going on. There was nothing that was hidden. Everybody that was involved was, we were all consenting adults. But while discussing that relationship that she had with August, Jada referred to it simply as an entanglement. And of course, that became one of the greatest memes ever created in the history of social media and the internet, probably. The Michael Jordan crying meme. There's a handful of them, but this one's definitely one of them. But she called it an entanglement, all but diminishing Will's feelings toward the incident or the events, and not allowing the full truth of the situation to be understood, which was supposed to be the purpose of the talk. It was supposed to be like therapy. Like when people come on the red table talk, that's what they're doing. It's like you're having this therapy. And Will had direct her. It was no entanglement. Like, let's clear this up. Let's get this together. And for the next 2 years, this is what Will has been dealing with. He's still been clowned. Just left and right. And I mean, he'll go in places and I'm sure people are whispering. And maybe they're not even talking about him. But whenever something like that happens, you feel like everybody's talking about you. I personally have noticed since then, how much Will has, immersed himself into other things. You see him traveling around the world. He wrote that huge book, and all of this is happening and no one is seeing Jada too close to him. Every now and then she'll pop up, but you're not seeing them really together. He's getting clowned to this day for the way he looked during that red table talk with his wife. And I'm not just talking about the tears in his eyes. I'm just saying the way she made him look was just, nobody wants to be in that situation, man or woman. So now we come to last night. Will Smith's big night. I don't know if anything happened before the awards. I've spoken with other people, and I mean, if you look at the video prior to the altercation, Will and Jada weren't like cozied up to each other. They were sitting in the same section, but there was a good, 7 feet between them, 6 feet between them. So I think there were people that were reporting that, things haven't been good over the past, I don't know if it's a few weeks, a few months, but things haven't been great. And, maybe last night should have been a solo night, or maybe he should have just come with his kids. But, they all came out. And when Chris Rock was delivering his monologue for that presentation, Will appeared to be waiting to see if he was going to tell another joke. Because remember, he wasn't there for the jokes that he told at the last Oscar that he was not nominated for in 2016. He was waiting to see if Chris was going to, be man enough to tell another joke. And he did. Chris Rock initially chose to be a good sport. Will Smith initially chose to be a good sport. Whenever Chris Rock said the G.I. Jane line, Will Smith reacted just like everybody else. He laughed. He sat back in his chair, he laughed. And it wasn't like a smirk or a snark, he laughed. But then the camera showed Jada's face, and she rolled her eyes and gave a look. And I feel like whenever he saw her reaction, he decided to proceed with plan B. Now, a source has told TMZ Chris Rock was not aware of Jada's medical condition of alopecia. He said he didn't know. And it's funny because I had told someone earlier today, maybe even late last night, it was like, how does everyone know, or why are people jumping to conclusions? Why do people just assume that Chris Rock knew that she had alopecia? Hell, I didn't know she had alopecia until last night. Until that happened and I was reading stories, I was like, I didn't know that. So yeah, that happened. And as shocked as everyone was, whenever the dust literally settled, everybody's trying to figure out what's going to happen next. So I'll give you the legal side to it now. Although Chris Rock has chosen not to file a formal report of the events or press charges, California law says that he doesn't have to in order for Smith to face punishment. The DA has 12 months to consider what happened and bring a case himself. Additionally, Whoopi Goldberg, who serves on the Academy's board, confirmed that the Academy is discussing what they are going to do about Will Smith's situation. But they did say that the Academy does not intend to strip Will Smith of his award. As of this day, at this time, Will Smith has issued a public apology to Chris Rock and again to the Academy via Instagram, which read, "Violence in all of its forms is poisonous and destructive. My behavior at last night's Academy Awards was unacceptable and inexcusable. Jokes at my expense are a part of the job, but a joke about Jada's medical condition was too much for me to bear, and I reacted emotionally. I would like to publicly apologize to you, Chris. I was out of line, and I was wrong. I am embarrassed, and my actions were not indicative of a man I want to be. There is no place for violence in a world of love and kindness. I would also like to apologize to the Academy, the producers of the show, all of the attendees, and everyone watching around the world. I would like to apologize to the Williams family and my King Richard family. I deeply regret that my behavior has stained what has been an otherwise gorgeous journey for us all. I am a work in progress. Sincerely, Will." So, I've been going back and forth with people on social media since it happened last night. And, I mean, the exchanges are divisive themselves. just how quickly we jumped on two different sides. How it's just amazing that something like that happened, that it literally just splits the room right down the center. I'll say this, Chris Rock showed tremendous restraint, and he's been commended by most for not retaliating. I personally couldn't believe all the support that I saw for Will. I still can't believe that. People like Tiffany Haddish saying that it was the most beautiful thing that she'd seen. And that is, a man, a black man protecting a black woman. The most beautiful thing she'd seen. Many women are tying this to the protect black women quote. I don't know if that's going to be the new cause or whatever, but, like BLM. But that's what it seems like every time something happens and there's a black woman involved, that's what somebody said, protect black women. And it's like people don't understand. Let it mean something. I'm saying to everyone that's listening, let that mean something. Don't just tie it to everything. It gets diluted. It gets watered down. And they're tying it to this protect black women as if Chris Rock attacked Jada Pinkett Smith. He told a joke. He's a comedian. Comedians, if you didn't know, are paid to tell jokes. This isn't some loudmouth guy in the bar or on the train, on the subway, who, approaches you and you don't know him or her and just starts mouthing off. This person is paid to come in and do what it is that he does. And people know the type of comedian and personality that Chris Rock is. They know what his style is. I've been to comedy shows, I have no problem being a part of the joke if someone decides that that they want to say something. I've been fortunate enough where no one has ever, tried to make me, the butt of a joke. A really good friend of mine, was engaged to a very well-known comedian. I'll say no names, but we were invited to a couple of things, and I made sure I sat right up in the front, just because sometimes you have that comedian that's like, let me get that person that's in the back, like a teacher that's looking for the student that's trying to hide. Oh, let me get that person in the back, sitting right up in the front, and I'm laughing and I'm cracking up, and I know that in a moment's notice the tide could turn. But that's part of the show. That's part of what this is about. That's everybody, now we're all Tresvant. That's a phrase that I coined. So when you hear it, don't let anybody fool you into thinking that that's something that they came up with. I started calling people Tresvant years ago, saying that they're sensitive. So now everybody's Tresvant. Everybody's out there, and no matter what you say, someone is offended. We can't be so tight around the collar that, everything that someone says, we're going to find a reason to be offended. Let's be clear. Will Smith's actions were indefensible. And evidence of that is his subsequent apology. Whether you have an opinion that it was the right thing to do or not, he knows that it was wrong and he has admitted it. I really don't know what's more disturbing, that Will Smith put his hands on another man, another black man, another black millionaire, superstar, talented man, without provocation or the support he received for doing it. Only one person broke the law last night. That same person broke a code. And once you're outside the circle, you never get back in. Will Smith said, "Love makes us do crazy things." No, Will, you had a choice. You made a decision. And now there will be consequences. To anyone looking at what he did as a possible remedy in your own personal situations, remember this: he's rich and famous. Right now, more than ever, one love.